once you get involved with the linchpin, once you tap onto truth, you know, you can't let it go, and it doesn't let you go. Everything you're looking at here is literally the flower of life, which they've built the entire pentagonal or the platonic solids from misinterpreting this flower of life and drawing straight lines where these spheres, these circles intersected.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So I caught myself watching a video from a channel that I subscribe to that I watch fairly often, Dr. Angela Collier. She's pretty cool. She does physics. And particularly it was this video right here about crackpots. If you're not familiar with her channel, I recommend it. It's pretty popular. Apparently I had never seen this video before. It came up in my feed because she introduced something which is a real thing called the Crackpot Index, which I'm surprised I didn't even know was a thing. But I did look it up. It's actually a method, kind of like a way of scoring a piece of work. Apparently, physicists get a lot of crackpot theories like sent to them via email, and it's like an ongoing joke or something. If you're in academia, particularly if you're like a professor or like someone who's doing research in theoretical physics, and that's why it's specifically targeted toward physicists. But this guy, Dr. John Baez, is actually in the math department. He's a math professor at, where is it, University of California? So, like, he does have a background in mathematics, and I thought, I mean, this is kind of, it's sort of an old Usenet joke. So it's like one of those, like copy pastas was kind of going around Usenet at the time. Because, like, this has been a thing. This was published, like, in the 1990s. And it's a way of, like, scoring how crazy or crackpot a certain theory is with respect to physics. And mostly talking about, you know, like theories of everything, like big deal kind of theories.
And so I went out to explore a new way of understanding how the universe works, and I was able to define the grand unified field equation they've been looking for and put it into geometry.
So I thought what would be kind of interesting would be, since I am a self-proclaimed expert on Terrence Howard-ology, not teriology, I've been more of a Terrence Howard biographer, I would say. Over the last year or so, I've been making videos about him. I'm familiar with his talks and stuff, his Oxford speech, his Uganda stuff, and some more obscure stuff too, like the drone contest was weird. I didn't really make any videos about that.
I mean, for the competition right now, as long as the individual structs, let me do this.
But again, the point is of the contest, I think, is to find people who go, oh, I know I'm inspired by that problem and know how to solve it. Okay.
Some people are going to say, oh, this isn't worth the money, or that's not a lot of money, or it's going to take a bazillion hours to do this. That's okay to think that way, but we want someone who hasn't lost that sense of wonder, who just wants to see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The challenge of building, you say, well, 6 degrees of freedom. Okay, that's interesting. But that's been done. But then you take and you angle the motors a certain way, and now it suddenly gets way more complicated.
We know that this project will speak to the people that it needs to speak to, and it's okay if, I've seen a lot of the comments as well, rolling in as I've been sitting here. And that's okay. People don't.
I think this is a really interesting problem to solve, and that's what personally drew me to it. Let's see. If you want more details about the contest, the website is, let me bring up the website here, terryslinchpins.com. There is information there about the contest. People in the chat are asking for technical details about the contest. To be honest with you, the contest rules are very sort of open.
As long as this is a larger linchpin, but as long as the engines are within the pentagonal planes, resting strictly inside the pentagonal planes.
And it's nothing is has congealed to the point where we know exactly everything about all of this. This is, we're just like, hey, you know what? We've hit our technical limits amongst the team, and we need to bring somebody in who's open-minded enough to make this happen, because we want to see what happens next?
That's all that we really need to accomplish. And you can build it as large as you can make it or as small as you can make it.
It's buy the ticket, take the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a challenge to see if we can collectively solve a problem as a collective mind working towards one thing to solve one problem.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just that, the prize money is just the North Star. You know what I mean? What it's about is the journey and the folks that choose to take it.
And the fact that there's some people out there who say it's not that hard. I go, okay, well, how hard is it? I think it's really interesting.
If you want to know another alternative to what you've been taught, if you want to see what the universe perspective is on a given thing, come and take this walk with us. What you'll find will blow your mind and everyone else's mind that you know.
There's a question in the chat about how you're going to control it with only a 4 degree of freedom controller. And one answer to that is
the drone contest was weird. There's a lot more to the Uganda footage.
And then with that geometry, I was able to put props on that. And what I'm saying is now we have invented a new form of flight that I would like to bring here to Uganda to replace the drones, to replace the helicopters, to replace the planes.
Anyway, I thought it'd be interesting to see if, as you'll see, we can't really rate him on this scale. We can't rate his entire book because it would take way too long. Or we'd have to write software to go through it and do the data analysis on it, which I'm not saying would not be fun also to do a little computer programming. But I think what we'd rather do is just kind of go through these. I was thinking, instead of looking at his book particularly or only, I'm pretty sure I can find video clips of Terrence Howard doing these exact things, or at least most of them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, try to do it by memory, and see if I can find video clips to kind of splice in here. And you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, it has begun.
Because there's a whole point system. It's kind of genius. I mean, this comes from someone that has a background in mathematics. I thought it would be fun to not get an exact score, I guess, but see, because when I was browsing through this, it was just screaming Terrence Howard. As far as his theories and stuff being absolute nonsense, it would definitely rate pretty high on this Crackpot Index. So once again, this is by Dr. John Baez. It's a simple method for rating potentially revolutionary contributions to physics. That is absolutely not sarcastic. Neither was that. Number 1, you start with a negative 5-point starting credit. So they basically get 5 points in their favor. And then every time a paper or someone's theory is guilty of these things, you add certain points. So take a look at number 2. 1 point for every statement that is widely agreed on to be false. Okay, there's no way that we can quantify that. For Terrence Howard, there's absolutely no way, because this whole book, it's just so full of false statements. Again, if we were going to try to quantify that, we would need some kind of software. We need to program computer software in order to evaluate how incorrect his book is on that front. But we can all agree that most of his statements are undeniably false, widely agreed to be false.
This is the proof that the square root of 2 is a rational number.
Yes.
They are abandoning the standard model, the ideas of black holes and dark matter, for an electric model of the universe. Like if I said to you, what's 1 times 1? What'd you say, 1? It equals 1? Anybody in here that thinks 1 times 1 equals 1, then you give me 2 pounds and I'll give you a pound back. If oxygen is bonded with any other element, the moment that it comes in contact with beryllium, it will break that other bond and immediately bond to beryllium because it's equal and opposite mate. So I was like, and the oxygen is feminine because it's part of the expansive side, whereas the beryllium is the masculine. So there's always this balance of masculine and feminine in the world that we see. Unbalanced equation. What we need to do is, the first thing in math is you're supposed to have a balanced equation. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an unbalanced equation. Action times an action.
Let's just say this. The title of his book is 1 times 1 equals 2. That's a false that's a false mathematical statement, so there you go. 3, 2 points for every statement that is clearly vacuous. I had to look that up. I had to look it up. It means having or showing a lack of thought or intelligent, mindless.
I woke up inside my mother's womb at about 6 months of age. I woke up inside of there. If my child urinated on my house, there's no way I would cut his genitals off. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. Just go by. Every once in a while I would think about something and this would come over. And I didn't know it was my hand. I thought it was a friend. I had my whole name for it. Inside that womb, you were conscious.
Number 4. 3 points for every statement that is logically inconsistent. Number 5. 5 points for each such statement that is adhered to despite careful correction.
And
the neutrinos
what Terrence is trying to prove, I think, is that because the fact that you can't detect whether neutrinos are there or not, there must be another way in which they're powered. My argument to him is that to suggest that neutrinos don't exist, because we have a lot of evidence to not know that they're physically there, but a lot of the effects and how they interplay with other things, to suggest that they don't exist is not only to get rid of that small theory, but also quite a lot of other huge laws of physics.
Are they laws or are they ideas of physics?
Well, why don't you respond to that and talk about how a lot of people have that sort of narrow mindset?
We know that Terrence Howard has been corrected by Neil deGrasse Tyson many years ago, and he still adheres to those same ideas.
8 years ago, he sent me a 36-page treatise.
And it was only 36 pages.
So this is Terrence Howard attempting to reinvent mathematics and physics.
Now, this is the geometry of hydrogen. Of hydrogen. This is the proton itself. So any bond that hydrogen can make, our linchpins are able to make.
Number 6, 5 points for using a thought experiment that contradicts the results of a widely accepted real experiment. Number 7. Number 7, 5 points. 5 points for each word in all capital letters. 5 points for each word in all capital letters. Let's just browse this book for 5 seconds and let's point out things that are in all capital letters. Added, addition, purpose, get swatted for what? Oh God, learn, asking a legitimate question, what's the square root of 2? That's all. Okay, this is part of like a little personal narrative that he does where he's getting swatted for, asking about the square root of 2. That's his story in his book. And there's way more than that. Guilty of number 7. Number 8, 5 points for each mention of Einstein, Hawkins, or I'm not sure how you would mispronounce Feynman. Feynman? Okay, I'm pretty sure at Oxford he says Stephen Hawkins.
Isn't that the same problem that Stephen Hawkins were talking about with the event horizon?
Number 9. 10 points for each claim that quantum mechanics is fundamentally misguided without good evidence. Well, he's got an entire chapter of his book. Where is it? The table of contents is so far down. Okay. So he opens his book on quantum mechanics with the phrase, just a lie. Cool. And he goes on to criticize quantum mechanics. And I think misquote some physicist. Number 10 points for pointing out that you've gone to school as if this were evidence of sanity. So he has conflicting stories about going to school. In his book, he says that he never went to school. I think at Oxford he said he never went to school, but he's got other stories. He has told different stories. Let's see.
You went to, what school did you go to?
Well, I went to South Carolina State University, and they gave me my doctorate in applied materials and chemical engineering.
Wow. And so you actually know how to do this stuff.
Yes.
You're not just...
As a child, I studied chemical engineering at Pratt Institute, was there for 2 years until I saw that there was an inconsistency with the math there. And so I went out to explore a new way of understanding how the universe worked, and I was able to define the grand unified field equation they've been looking for and put it into geometry.
I didn't go to school. I had a 1.6 grade point average graduating from high school because I had other things to do. But this information kind of educated me along the way because I was born into it.
All right, number 11, 10 points for beginning the description of your theory by saying how long you have been working on it. 10 more for emphasizing that you worked on your own.
I've spent 45 years searching these things out. Well, it's been 40 years of me dancing on this thing. For 40 years, I was told I was wrong. For 40 years, I was told that, the Platonic solids and all those were the solids.
12, 10 points for mailing your theory to someone that you don't know personally and asking them not to tell anyone else about it for fear that your ideas will be stolen.
That's Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I initially sent my treatment to, 36 pages, came back, sent all these redlined it and these disparaging, kind of very was rough.
Interesting on that last point, because he has expressed that. That's why he patents things, He's like, don't steal. He thinks people are going to steal his ideas, which is weird because nobody would want them. They're dumb ideas.
Well, it's funny. I actually patented 1 squared. All these things that I showed you guys, I've patented all these things. You know why I patented them? Because in 1926, a man named Walter Russell wrote a book called The Universal One, and in it he introduced an entirely new periodic table, and there he introduced the 2 heavy water elements, and then plutonium and deuterium. Both of those, all 4 of those elements that had never been discovered, he sent out to 800 different universities in his book. 2 years later, he watched as other people came and got Nobel Prizes for his work. Why? Because he didn't patent it. He didn't copyright it. So I copywrote all these things and patented all these things before bringing them to you. They are true, and I think there's some value to them. I don't know why I said that. Did I?
13, 10 points for offering. He's guilty of all these. Good. Look at this. 10 points for offering prize money to anyone who proves and or finds any flaws in your theory.
I'm so convinced about my dimension.
The 1 times 1 equals 2.
Any accredited scientific university with math or science, $1 million.
Not only did he offer prize money on Andy Cohen, he also, I guess, wanted to do like some sort of weird wrestling, put up your PhD kind of thing, like a championship belt wrestling kind of. You put up your PhD, I'll put up my patents.
Hey man, let's get together. Let's have a talk. Let's debate and see if what you say is true. And then you put your accreditation up. I'll put my patent up, and we'll see who has the truth and who's a liar.
Wow.
And I literally would welcome anybody out there, university, physicists, theorists, chemists. I would love to have a head-to-head duel, and let's put this out there and examine the truth. And at the end of the day, if you're right, I'll walk away. You can take the patents. But if I'm right, you hand me your accreditation.
Absolutely.
You hand me your PhD. You don't deserve it anymore.
Oh, that's huge.
I'm down for it. Let's play.
Yeah.
Let's play because the truth don't lie.
Yeah.
Such an idiot. 14. 10 points for each new term you invent and use properly without defining it. If you've been following the peer review, that happens all over his book. All over his book. Undefined terms.
So we're talking about unlimited bonding, unlimited predictable structures, supersymmetry.
Stay tuned to the channel for more. If you liked the video, please give a like. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe. And other than that, well, take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next one.